We are live. This is the NBA Rundown brought to you by Nuke the House. I'm here today, as always, with Tyler Hicks, but we brought in a special guest, a blast from the past. I did my first content with Noops, and now he's blossomed into an internet celebrity. We are so happy to have you here today. How are you doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood spread. It's always nice to see you. Yes, that was my first show as well. For those that don't remember, back in God, what's going to be 4 or 5 years ago, we had the Network
2018.
podcast. One
Yeah.
of the best names that we've ever had. It's a shame that we couldn't put that together. It was you, me, formerly Jorge. I guess now goes by his real name. John Stocks himself. We talked tennis and all that stuff. And yes, the ball is rolling down the hill. I'm doing stuff. I've got Hoops with Noops over on FTN. I do the BetUS TV show, and now I have a reoccurring spot on VSiN.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I was going to ask you to run that down at the end, but we've got that out of the way. As I was telling you before I came on, Tyler and I really have problems getting momentum going this season. We're still up 1.7 units, but boy, for the amount of work we put in, we'd like it to be better. But before we dive in and you help us find some winners on today's cards, I'd like to hear some of your general thoughts on the NBA. You'll be happy to hear this. Tyler and I are proud owners of a 34 to 1 76ers ticket to win the championship. Do you have any futures that you are considering right now, and who do you like overall just to take home that trophy this year?
I love where the NBA is at this point. It seems like every team is kind of fighting for position. The Celtics are really the only team that are kind of cemented in here. So it's been fun watching all these teams push. And I think one of the interesting things about the last month or so, usually we see the tanking heat up. These teams start losing and losing and losing. And to say it in kind of a backwards way, the Pistons have already done all the hard work they need to do. The Spurs have done most of the hard work they need to do. The Wizards have done all the hard work they need to do. So now you see these bad teams actually pushing and trying to win games. It's interesting to watch Detroit play with such effort and do things like that. From a futures perspective, no one has enough money bet on the Denver Nuggets to win the championship. They continue to be my pick to win the title. They are the best team with the best player. They have the best pedigree. I know Boston has hypothetically the easiest path going through the Eastern Conference, but the West, although again, it's deeper, there are better teams there. The Nuggets are better. There is not a team in the Western Conference, again, now that we know that Karl Anthony Towns might not be there, that can really match up with Denver. I think Minnesota maybe could have given them some trouble, but without that extra piece, I think the Nuggets just kind of roll through here, and they should be favored. Again, if Boston finally walks through, plays good in clutch minutes, and wins these close playoff games, it'll be the first time in my life I've ever seen that since Kevin Garnett was playing.
Well, one of the issues with Boston is they just run those ISOs for Tatum at the end of the game. They don't run plays, and that's why I can't back them in a close game. I mean, it's just he dribbles the air out of the ball and then he takes a contested mid-range jumper that's probably about a 37% probability. It's not a good way to end games. And I've seen
No,
games
the
where
ball really
Porzingis is going.
sticks.
Yeah, yeah,
How many clutch minutes do you think that team plays this year total in the regular season?
that's a good point.
Less than a quarter? Because they're always winning by margin going into the end of the game. So when they finally do get in a close game, they look like a deer in the headlights. They don't know what to do.
No, exactly. And I think the other part is the roster construction. It's a great team. There's a ton of talent here. There is no passing. There is not one single player on this team that you would look at and be like, there's a really good passer. I mean, it was one of the silliest parts when they traded away Marcus Smart. It was like, oh my God, they lost their best passer. They lost their best offensive creator. We're talking about Marcus Smart. It's exactly, it becomes kind of dueling banjos here. Teams know what to do. They know how to stack up. And as good as Tatum is, it kind of reminds me of Kobe when he didn't have any help. He can create all these shots. They look really nice, but the efficiency just isn't there.
Yeah, I mean, I had to say that's a really good analogy because Tatum's actually been an excellent on-ball defender. I saw a stat the last couple days. Players against him in isolation, I talked about the 30%, are at about 33%, and he's one of the best isolation defenders in the league. But I don't trust this team on offense in a close game, which is why I agree with you. In the West, it's all about Denver. Don't try and get cute. But in the East, that's where we're taking these shots. Philadelphia, Miami, right? I think these teams are live here to upset Boston. I can't get there with Milwaukee, and I'm not saying that just because we bet the Bucks last night and they beat the Kings, or they lost to the Kings in first time in 19 games. Who would you choose right now? Even the Knicks, I think, are live. Who would you choose as kind of a dark horse candidate to come out of the East if it's not Boston?
Yeah, I've got some Heat to win the Eastern Conference in my pocket, around 15-1. That's kind of where it topped out, and they just continue to look better and better. It's just like every season, they're still a little beat up. I'd like Tyler Hero to be healthy, but Rozier's fit in nicely. Hero looks good. Butler looks kind of like he's in good shape. Might even be better physically than he was last year. That was one of the amazing parts about that Heat team. They made it that far, and Butler was not 100% to finish the season. Bam Adebayo continues to be, I think, one of the most underrated players in the NBA. It's a good team. I wonder if they don't quite have as much versatility and can be as good defensively as they were last year, but it's Spoelstra, it's Butler, it's Bam. It's kind of your poor man's Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. You've got the best coach and some of the best players coming in the postseason. You know you're going to get the best effort out of those guys. They're not going to blink late when we know the Celtics are going to fall apart. We know what Glenn Rivers does in the postseason. It'll be the Knicks' first time there without, again, a true superstar on that team. The Sixers, we don't know if Embiid's going to be healthy. The Cavaliers, they clearly don't seem to be ready. It's too early to trust a team like the Magic. There's the Heat, time and time again. Give me them.
Yeah, I love Giannis and I like the Bucks, but that Holiday trade to me, I think just kind of sealed their fate. And the fact that he ended up in Boston made it 10 times worse. To me, the identity of that team was defense. And when they won the championship, I had them, and I had them in a great number. I can't remember. I think I got 13 or 14-1 when they went down against the Raptors.
Suns in the finals.
No, but I bet them earlier. I bet them when they were behind in the series. Anyways, regardless, my point is I always knew they were going to get stops, right? So even when they were behind in games, I said, we can come back. I don't see them getting the stops they need right now. Tyler, what were your general thoughts on the NBA last night? It was a rough night for us, and couple contenders had some tough losses there with the Thunder and the Bucks. I thought were the most disappointing of the night.
Yeah, it was a tough night, rough night on the betting card. But just like I messaged you towards the end of that Thunder game and about halfway through the first quarter of the Bucks game, so the most tilting part about tonight is going to be we watched the Thunder get all these open shots and free layups at the rim, and nothing would go in. And then the Pacers score just started the balloon. They fought back a little bit. They couldn't get over the hump and win that game. Same thing with the Bucks. There was multiple guys on Twitter saying this is the craziest shot variance they've seen the Bucks have all year. They got a ton of open shots. They just wouldn't go in. And both teams fell behind and could never fight back into the game. So in the end, I'm not going to say we were on the wrong side. We got the shots we wanted. We lost money. But I'd probably be on those sides again if the games were tonight.
Yeah, and I told you before the show, I mean, we got even money on a team like on an 18-game win streak. Like, I'm not going to second guess that one. But I do want to bounce back tonight, so let's dive right in. To be fair, the first game on the card I'm not too interested in. It's the Toronto Raptors. They're catching 3.5 in Detroit, taking on the Pistons. Total, this used to be an average total. This is a high total right now. Sitting here at 233. I'll start with you, Noops. I didn't have any interest in this game. Do you think that I'm missing some sharp angle where we can be profitable when the Raptors take on the Pistons?
I want to see how the injury report shakes out. This Toronto team's just in shambles. As much as I like the starting five they have when they're healthy, I think that lineup of Barnes, Barrett, Quickly, Trent, and maybe Pirtle, maybe maybe Olynyk in there. I'm blanking on another name there, maybe Bruce Brown. It's kind of an interesting group, but everyone's hurt. Barnes is out, RJ Barrett's out, Pirtle's out. I don't really care so much about Pirtle, but it does take away
I like
their only
Pirtle.
center.
Because Olynyk is so bad at defensive rebounding and rim protection.
Yeah, you need Pirtle there. You need one guy to rebound. You're right. Olynyk comes on. He's a little more talented, but he's not a good rebounder. So what I'm waiting to hear basically is Quickly and Gary Trent Jr. are questionable. If one of those two guys is out, I'm jumping on a Raptors team total under anything 110 or higher. I think it was like 114 or so around that this morning. I think we're still looking at like 112, 113. But if Quickly and Gary Trent Jr., or again, even one of those guys are out, I don't know how the Raptors score any points here. The Pistons, kind of as I hinted at earlier, are pushing and trying to win these games. So maybe the pace will be there enough. But this Raptors team, I just want to double check. They did score 119 points against Denver, but had one of their better offensive nights when you start to look at some of the numbers. I mean, they shot 50% from the field, made 11 threes, got to the line, and were able to get 14 free throws there. So even with that incredible performance for them, they still only got 119 points. So again, if one of those two guards is out, Raptors team total under, if both are out, I'm going to play the team total under, try to find some alts on that too.
And you're much better at modeling and projections than I am. And one of the problems I've had with Toronto this year is that I basically feel all the data from when they had Siakam and Anunoby makes the team so much different because they went from being this big defensive half court team to now they've gone for a more fast paced offensive style, right? Quickly and Barrett, I think of those guys as offense only guys, quick pace guys. Siakam and OG were kind of slower and very good on the defensive end. I've struggled with it, which has kind of led me to stay away from Raptors games. How do you adjust on that? I mean, I don't want to take that data out because then I start thinking, well, I'm not doing this for other teams. But I feel like the data is almost useless when I'm using season-long numbers.
I think you have to take the data out, which is exactly what I do. I try to scrub games. Basically, I have a way of going through and I kind of tag each game with here's who played for each team. And I try to go through every night. It's like, all right, these guys are out, wipe those games out. These guys are in, wipe those out. So I am looking at a smaller set of data, which is always a little tougher. The less data you have, the less reliable it is. But at the same time, I do think that it doesn't make any sense to look at this team when it was Barnes, OG, and Siakam versus what they have now. It's an entirely different team. It's not quite apples and oranges, but they're not the same thing. So I scrub all that stuff out and try to look maybe at risk looking at a smaller sample size, but what I believe to be a more appropriate and representative sample.
All right, you know what? You give me some confidence that I need to start doing that, and if I have some questions, I might reach out as an appropriate way to do it. Tyler, we talked before the show. We have been terrible at toilet bowls this year, right? When these two bad teams are playing, like last night when we took the Wizards. But what do you think here? Do you have any thoughts on the Pistons and the Raptors? Maybe a player prop or a different way to approach this game?
Yeah, I lean towards Detroit picks up the win. I don't think those two guys on the injury report are going to play for Toronto. We talked about it the last couple of weeks, Spread. They really don't have anything left to play for now that Scotty Barnes is down. They maybe were going to fight their way into the play-in tournament and get the 10 seed. Once he went down, it's like, all right, let's just try and protect our draft pick from San Antonio. It's top 6 protected. Let's just get more ping pong balls in the lottery. I don't think they're really playing for anything anymore. I feel like this total is just off, though. I like Noops' call on the team total under on the Raptors. But the full game total, I think we can go in on that too, because 232 on a Detroit game, I think is a little high. If both those guys miss for Toronto, Barrett's already out. Like, is Grady Dick going to score all these points for them? Like, they really don't have many scores at that point. Cade and these guys don't play at a crazy pace either. They're right in the middle of the pack in pace since the All-Star break. So I lean full game under and I lean Detroit wins. But I want to get on Cade's his assist prop. His assist prop's 8.5. It's still plus money. He's done very well in the assists. Recently, I'm pulling up his game logs as we speak. But just in this matchup, too, Duren should be able to feast in the paint. There's going to be no bigs for him. Kelly Olynyk's going to want to stand on the outside. He had 8 assists last game, 10 the game before, 11 3 games ago, 8, 7, 10. His number is 8.5 at plus money. I'll gladly take a shot on that against a Raptors team that's given up around 9.5 assists per game to point guards.
All right. Well, there's some fun ways to approach that game. Sounds like you guys both like the post All-Star break trend of just bet the unders and stop stressing, which wish we would have been doing that this whole time. Let's move on to the next game, Tyler, and I'm a lot happier to get involved in this one. The Orlando Magic are laying 6.5 to the Brooklyn Nets, and I know the Brooklyn Nets have burned us a couple times, but overall, I'm not really too excited about this team. I know going into the season, they were kind of like the NBA hipster darling team with all the wings and their ability to defend and their versatility, and they can switch 1 through 5, but it really hasn't turned out this way. As you know, what we've learned is Mikal Bridges might be the most elite number 3 in the league, but as number 1, it's simply not going to get it done. And on the other side, I have a clean injury report for an Orlando Magic team that I'm really high on. I'm going to lay the 6.5 with the Magic unless you guys have any objections. Tyler, I'll start with you. Are you ready to join me in believing in Magic?
Yeah, I'm so down to fade the Nets after they went and shot a ton of threes the game before this. They made them. We talked about it before, Spread. They have these random games on their schedules where they hit a bunch of threes. They feel good about themselves. And the next game they go out and they lose the game by about 30. It's happened like 4 times already this year. I think this could easily be one of those spots where the Magic just walk out on the floor. The Nets are going to come in with their chest puffed out, and Orlando's defense just smothers them. They can't hit any threes. Paulo and these guys get any buckets they want, and Orlando wins this game by double digits. So I'm down to lay the 7. There's that bet we talked about on FanDuel winning at the end of every quarter. The Magic are plus 140. I'll gladly take a shot on that too because they've been a nice first quarter team. they could easily grab this lead and never look back. So those are my 2 plays in this game.
Yeah, at one point they were the best first half team in the league, and I haven't looked that up for a bit, but they're still probably top 5. Noops, how are you approaching this one? Even though I only have this as a 6-point Magic win, I'm willing to pull the trigger. What do you think?
I think Magic is definitely the right side here. Like you said, it's kind of 2 teams at the beginning of the season that we looked at similarly. They had these a big, great collection of athletes, guys that were really looked like they could do whatever you wanted. I couldn't have been more wrong about Brooklyn. I thought this would be one of the best defensive teams in the league. You should have been able to build some sort of aggressive trapping, switching scheme here with all these long athletic defenders that are basically interchangeable. But it's been the exact opposite of that. They run up and down the floor, chuck the ball. There's not much defense to be had in Brooklyn here, whereas Orlando is just fantastic. Every single night they look better. One of the best defenses in the NBA, especially when Isaac can be on the floor for the few minutes a night he plays. They continue to get better. Paolo looks like he's going to be a star. Franz Wagner looks like at least an all-star caliber player here. So I think Orlando puts it away. I played the over here. I actually played it at 206. We're down to 204.5 right now. So again, the market has just been kind of betting every single number under here. Just looking quickly, pretty much every game is at the total it opened or significantly under where it is. This game continues to get pushed down. I just don't see it. Orlando really hasn't slowed pace down very much the last couple of games. If you wash out games against, teams like the Knicks that are actively playing basketball differently than everybody else in the NBA, given what their injury situation is. So I try to throw those out. The pace in Orlando, it looks like it's pretty solid. Again, Brooklyn's happy to run up and down the floor. So unless the Nets are going to shoot really poorly, or Orlando again is going to find some way to just really try to lock down and have some sort of statement game where they hold Brooklyn to 80 points somehow, I think this gets to at least 210. So I'm playing the over.
All right. I'd be happy to join you there. Actually, I had this projected as 214.5. I
started at like 210, 211 this morning, tweak some stuff. I always take into account kind of what the opener is and what the price is at some of the sharp books. Try to just rely on the market, basically. I add that into my number. And even then, again, I'm at 209.5, 210.
The only reason, it's hard for me to just auto pull the trigger on those. I told you I use a lot of season-long data. And it's just, that's what was making me thinking when I was getting my total so high. Do you remember at the beginning of the year, Tyler, my projection said to take every under. Now I feel like it's to take every over, but it's a lot of the trends in the league, right? I mean, the totals were a lot higher in December. So many 230s and 240s.
Yeah, I mean, towards the end of December too, spread. We even got the games where it was like Atlanta, Indiana. They couldn't set that number high enough. They'd set it like 256, and it's like in my head, the gambler in me tells me to click under because I don't think they can get there. But then the other side of me says they're going to be at 140 at halftime, and I'm not going to have a shot.
Yeah,
so.
I think they landed at that game 270, 280.
No, they landed at like 302, and they didn't even get into overtime.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Now I was looking quickly. I try to track the average totals. I look at them in like 7-day periods. Going to the All-Star break, the 7-day average for totals was 230, 231. If you look at the last week, it's 223. We're down 8 points.
Yeah. So
and the average scoring per game again continues to follow. Your average score per game, again, right around that number. The totals are finally pretty close. Again, down 7 or 8 points. And there's a lot of talk about that. If you guys haven't had a chance, the low post today, I think I remember it was the one today or yesterday. I think and Kevin Pelton get into it a little bit. It seems like free throws are a big part of it. Average free throw attempts are down for everybody across the board, but pace is also slowed a little bit. But it does seem to be like they're calling the games differently.
I mentioned in our chat, though, I thought that was a good idea because there's no sport in my mind, and I'm obviously not an expert on every sport, but where the game changes as much from the playoffs. Like, obviously, the NFL gets a little more physical, right? Baseball is almost exactly the same, but the NBA looks like a whole new sport out there. I think that was one of the reasons that Harden had problems against the Warriors is in 2018, he got used to just beating his man off the dribble and he'd get the foul call no matter what. Then he got to the playoffs and he wasn't getting those calls anymore. So I'm glad that they're adjusting right now. And I think hopefully it'll be less of an adjustment for the players in the playoffs because it gets crazy how much the game looks, right? Tuning in that first game, right? We all get excited. We'll get like a triple header or a quadruple header for that first Saturday of, the actual matchups. And it doesn't even look like the same sport. So, hopefully they'll continue that. I personally like the less foul calls. I don't like. I mean, I understand. It is important to beat your man off the dribble, but I don't think you should be rewarded and get an auto foul if you don't make the layup. Um, Tyler, you're gonna hate me on this one because it's a team that we've argued over all year. But I like the Chicago Bulls +4 against Indiana taking on the Pacers.
Yeah, you do.
Total 229. And this is just me being I don't know if contrarian's the right word, right? But I'm catching Indiana coming off the huge win over the Thunder last night. Chicago coming off one of their worst losses of the season. And we were on the right side of that, right? So now I'm trying to, keep that momentum going. We love Dallas when they travel to Chicago, but I think they bounce back tonight and they cover against Indiana. Tyler, I'll start with you. I know that you're not as high on the Bulls as I am, but are you willing to join me here?
No, I'll join you on the Bulls on this one. It's a scheduled spot. Indiana beat OKC in OKC last night. Now they got to travel all the way back up to Indiana. They are not a good back-to-back team this year. I believe they have the worst ATS record. So I'm down to fade them with the Chicago team. When I'm not down to bet the Chicago team spread is when there's no rest disadvantage on either side, and you're looking at them like there's some bald guy named Michael Jordan that's going to show up and save the day for them. So that's when we fade them. In a scheduled spot like this, I'll be willing to back them.
Yeah, Noops, I'm a big DeMar DeRozan enthusiast, so I always like Chicago in these close games. You don't seem to be as enthusiastic about this perpetually mediocre team that Chicago Bulls have been running out there.
It's something about the sweet air of March that gets the Bulls excited to play the Hawks in the play-in tournament every year. This is the stupidest annual tradition we have at this point. And I think this is a spot where it's Bulls or pass, but every time I back the Bulls, they get clobbered. Every time I don't, they win. I really struggle with this Pacers team. They're wildly different from what we've seen at the beginning of the year. Tyler makes a great point. They're 2-9 against the spread. The second night of back-to-backs. Been a little better since the All-Star break when, again, we've seen the pace slow way down for them. They were first in the league with a bullet to start the year in pace. They're now 5th or 6th since the All-Star break. 3-point attempts, I think they were 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere in that range in 3-point attempts. They're now down in the bottom half, bottom third of the league. So they've just completely changed kind of the way they're playing basketball here and lost that difference that made them really scary, that made them tough night to night. The league did adjust a little bit, but I'm surprised in the stark difference here. Siakam has made the team better overall, but again, the fact that they're now just more like every other NBA team, I think has eliminated some of their advantage. I don't know what to do here. It's Bulls or pass. I'm happy to let this one go.
All right. I think I'm going to be jumping in on the Chicago Bulls. I have no thoughts on the total either. You guys?
Spread. This is the game where they're about at halftime, and I message you and I go, "Why did we do this?" Because Javon.
And you're gonna send me a clip of Javon Carter just dribbling around, right?
When he drove to the hoop with no one there and passed it out like Ben Simmons. I was like, "Why are we betting on this team?" And it took double overtime for us to survive and get out of there.
Ben Simmons, if there's ever been a poster child for ending guaranteed contracts in the NBA, it has to be him. All right. Let's move on to this next game. I'd say it's the best game of the night. Lakers Kings, to me, might be the best game of the night, but in reality, this is the best game of the night. Rematch of last year's finals. It's the Denver Nuggets. They're -3 in Miami. Total's 216.5. To me, when I'm looking at this game, I think it's Denver or pass, but I haven't got there with Denver yet, and I don't know why. I'm so scared to pull the trigger here. But I'll start with you, Noops. What do you think, man? Is there a reason?
It's going to be a great game.
Yeah.
I'm just excited to watch. Both these teams are going to try their best. They played a great game at the end of February. I really enjoyed that. It was fun to watch playoff-style basketball, if you will. I think combined they took 165, 167, somewhere in that range of shots. In your average NBA game, you're closer to 183, 184. That's a big difference, and that's what we see. Teams slow down. They really grind through possessions, trying to look for the most efficient shot. But even as efficient as offense can be, it doesn't make up for the lack of possession. So lean towards the under here. But I'm surprised. I said earlier, every total's been bet down. I didn't realize this one's actually been bet up. It went from 214.5, and again, we're 216, so it's not a big move or anything. But there has been some money coming in on the over. Again, maybe if the game is close, somebody is kind of factoring in maybe the potential for overtime here or a little more competitive start to the game. But Denver should win this game. I expect them to play their best. All these numbers come out pretty close. It's tough to fade Miami. I just don't see really any value on either side.
That's funny because I feel the opposite way. I think it's tough to fade Denver here. I can bring up a lot of arguments, right? If you just said, hey, spread, jump on here and make an argument for Miami for a couple minutes. I'd have plenty of reasons to back them. Like Braden says, this is the time that we usually want to take these teams. They're coming off losses. They're at home. I usually don't buy into this revenge, but on a finals matchup or playoff matchups, I think we do get a good effort here from Miami. Tyler, I haven't really chosen a side yet, but I lean Nuggets. What do you think?
I'm fine just betting Roberts play right here or Jokic triple-double because for some reason, it's all the way up to plus 230 on FanDuel.
I think because this is such a lower total than the totals.
But even in a low total game, the game's still flowing through him. So the total could be 190 points. The entire Denver Nuggets offense is still going to flow through Jokic.
I mean, they were about 190 when they played in the playoffs last year on these totals.
And this isn't even counting the playoff games. He's triple-doubled in 3 of the last 6 games against them in the regular season. In the games he didn't, he had 18, 11, and 7, 27, 12, and 8, and 24, 15, and 7. So he's right there anyway. I'll gladly take the shot on that.
You say it's plus 230?
Yeah.
Yeah, I make that plus 170. I think
yeah,
that's
I feel like that price is a little wrong, so I'll gladly bet that again. I just got to ride Denver. Like, they've been the cream of the crop. They're the best team in the league. They probably go back-to-back and win the championship again this year, as long as they're healthy. So I'll bet the triple-double alone, and I'll go right back in and bet the performance double, him triple-double and win, because that's going to be around 4-1 with the way this game is lined. Let's see where that's at. Yeah, triple-double and win plus 350. So those would be my 2 bets for this game. I'd rather bet that than lay 4 points. If Miami's going to win a game, it's probably right here. But Denver has been an absolute tank. I'd rather not try and be the guy to get in front of that.
And I agree with you guys on the Jokic triple-double. Noops, you talked about Bam Adebayo being one of the most underrated players in the league, but unfortunately I think this is his kryptonite matchup. Because I think one of the advantages he has is his quickness and versatility. And then you're going against a guy like Jokic, and everybody's quicker than him. So it's not the same advantage as it would be for a guy, especially some of these younger centers, right? Like Wiseman or Duran or Mitchell Robinson, who might actually be like flustered with Bam's athleticism. To Jokic, it's just another day in the neighborhood. I think he's I'm trying to think of who he'd actually be faster than if they had a race between all the centers in the league. I think we'd have to pull out Greg Ostertag.
DeAndre Jordan's still in the league, isn't he?
Yeah,
his backup.
and they're teammates, so we can run that at practice, Noops, right? But we're having that Ostertag level athleticism. The only difference is it's the Larry Bird level of skills. Yeah,
big Greg Ostertag guy checking in.
Yeah,
big Greg Ostertag guy.
How can you not like that one? So,
do we think he could outrun Boban, the big guy in Houston?
Is he still
in the league?
Yeah, he just kind of hangs out.
I thought he was just doing goldfish commercials.
No, he's still on their team. He just kind of hangs. There was a Houston game recently where they got the ball stuck up above the hoop, and he was like on the back on the bike, and they were.
I love that. Once a year, he just walks up.
Yeah. That's like being a backup quarterback, like earning your money there. All right, so we have it. Sounds like we lean towards the Nuggets, but we're not getting anywhere. Noops, you mentioned it. I'm using Bookmaker right now to read out these lines, and it moved up to 217. While we were breaking down this game. So
yeah, someone's betting the over right now.
I kind of like that, though. Don't you feel that we'll get more fouling towards the end? Whoever's ahead, like it just doesn't feel like they're just going to give up and dribble it out.
Again, they both played really good offensive games last time, and the total was finished around 200. Unless for some reason we're going to run tonight, I don't know. I mean, I could see it getting to 220, but again, I expect this to be a lower scoring game. I have this at like 213, 214, kind of somewhere in that range. I'll have to go back and double check.
So you basically had it at the opener.
Yeah, and I'm looking. The injury report's pretty clean. I don't think we're going to see any surprises. Again, Hero's been out all day. I don't expect him to magically come back. There's not even anybody questionable. Everybody's out or available, so we know who's going to play. I wonder if just limits maybe opened up a little bit and somebody's just been waiting all day to do this, but somebody's been betting the over for the last 30 minutes.
I use season-long data. I don't weight last 5 that heavily right now, and I have it at 219. So if a lot of people are using simpler numbers, I can see them how they're getting there because I feel like mine is fairly simple.
Well, move like this again. This is somebody sharp going in. If bookmakers moving, it's because somebody's popping 10 grand at a time that knows what they're doing over there. So that's what I mean. This kind of move. Again, we've seen about 2.5 points here, and it looks like it's still going. That's somebody that knows what they're doing.
And sometimes I don't understand the moves, but like I said, it actually makes sense to me. I'm not getting involved there, but yeah, I don't think I want to go against whoever's moving that number. This next game, Tyler, I told you, man, we're so bad at these games when it's
Worst game of the year. You want to skip it? I'm happy to pretend this game doesn't exist. I'm going to give you the chance right now. We can move on and pretend this doesn't exist. It never happened.
I'm willing to skip it, but Tyler, did you want to play it?
I'm down to skip it too, but if you put a gun to my head, I'd bet Charlotte.
Fair enough.
You said Charlotte. Now people know what you're talking about.
The Cleveland Cavaliers are plus 5.5. They're in New Orleans. They're taking on the Pelicans. The total is 218. Tyler, before the show, I talked to you about this one, and I said that my number's like the Pelicans, but I've been terrible with that team all year. You've been on point with that team all year, and I wanted to get your blessing before I place the bet. What do you think here? Pelicans laying 5.5 against the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, I'm down to back the Pels here. This is our typical spot spread where we took the notes down earlier in the year. It's like when they give Fat Boy Zion some rest and these other guys 3 days rest, they absolutely pound whatever team they put in front of them. They can't make the number high enough. And for some reason, since the start of March, I don't know if they went and adjusted the schedule for the Pelicans on the fly, but they've played March 1st, March 5th, March 8th, and March 10th. They've spaced their games out like they're a goddamn NFL team. They're going to go out on this floor tonight, and they are going to run Cleveland right off the floor. This is another one spread, winning at the end of every quarter. The Pelicans are going to be up 15 at the end of the first. They're never going to look back. Zion, Joe Val, and these guys on the inside, Jared Allen doesn't stand a chance. Mobley's not there to help him. Strus is still out. Even if Donovan Mitchell plays, Herb Jones is going to be chasing him around and some of these other great defenders. So I'm on New Orleans here. I think they cover by margin.
All right, we're on the well-rested Pelicans. Noops, do you want to join us, or do you have a reason maybe that we should be looking towards Cleveland?
Pelicans full game anymore. They just, if it wasn't for the Atlanta Hawks, we'd be talking about how bad New Orleans is in the second half. So I'm going to bet Pelicans first quarter and first half. I'm just waiting for Mitchell. I get the feeling that he plays. This is kind of a total gut feeling. He's been out for a little over a week and a half at this point. He started practicing and shooting around and doing some stuff. If he's in, this line will move another couple points here and we'll just get a better number on New Orleans. But I'm just going to wait and see. If he's out, I don't think it's actually going to move too much the other way. This line reads to me like 75 out, 25 in. And again, I think that's closer to maybe a 50-50 shot. So I'm going to wait and see if I can cherry pick a better number. But once we know whether Mitchell is in or out, Pelicans first quarter, Pelicans first half, I almost don't even really care what the numbers are.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Maybe we should look into that first half, Tyler. He does have a point about those.
I'm down for first half too spread, but I think they win the game by margin. So I'm think
down to double up too.
I think they can go to sleep in the second half and they're still going to cover 6.
Okay.
That's certainly possible.
Sounds like we're Team Pelicans here. The Golden State Warriors are in Dallas. They're taking on the Mavericks. The Warriors are at that key number of +7. Total here is 233. Noops, I'll start with you, and I'll let you break the whole game down. But I just to tell you, I want the +7 here. I only have this as a 2-point Mavericks win.
So I think this is a game where you just play alt spreads. The problem is I can't figure out which spread you should play because we have the classic matchup of a stoppable force against a movable object. The Mavericks have the worst defense in the NBA since the All-Star break. They're changing lineups game to game. It's March. You don't want to be messing with your lineups in March. This is a really bad sign for Dallas. The Mavericks have just been a mess. Now, they're the much better team. They could score 150 points tonight, but they could give up 145, 146 to this Warriors team that, without Steph Curry, has just looked like a mess. They're struggling to score. So I don't know what to do here. I think either Dallas wins this game by like 15, 20 points, or the Warriors find a way to keep this thing really close, and we're going down to the end here in the fourth quarter, and somebody wins on a last-second basket. It's so hard for me to pick through these teams. I love the Mavericks roster. Like, if I was playing a video game, give me the Mavericks. What a fun team that is to have, but they just can't seem to translate it into anything. And if they can't stop anybody, I don't know how to trust them to cover some of these big numbers.
I'm with you on the second scenario. On my projections, I think it's actually 1.5. I mean, so that comes down to a last-second shot, and that's the way I see this. Where it's a fun, exciting ending, but with the +7 in my pocket, I know I won some money, and just to see who comes out on top. Tyler, what are you thinking here, though? I know you don't believe in the Warriors like I do.
Just not without the main guy, not without Steph. It's like they're going to replace him with CP3, who Luka hates. Like, he might just look at him across the floor and be like, I'm just going to tear into this dude like he's back in a Phoenix jersey. So Dallas knows what to do when Chris Paul is on the floor. They know to attack. Well, where does Golden State go if that goes bad for them?
GP3.
Who's just Draymond's running full point guard, bringing it up the floor, setting up the entire offense at that point then? Because CP3's got to be on the bench.
I'm fine with that.
Who's making baskets, by the way, in this scenario?
What's up?
Who's scoring in this scenario? Forget who brings the ball up the floor. Who's putting it in the hoop?
He's got a very
We're
good.
gonna have like a 40-point Clay game. We got to roll back time. Bring Clay out there for 40 minutes.
I'm starting to lean towards Dallas is going to win this game outright.
Well, I hope they win outright. They're minus 261.
Oh, I had this.
Absolutely
I was reading it as the other way around. I glanced at the line real quick. I thought it was Dallas +7, but yeah. I think they just run away with it.
Okay, maybe we'll stay away from that one. That was one of the other ones that I liked.
Luka's triple-double, because he got screwed out of his 30-point triple-double 2 nights ago when they didn't call that foul in the Chicago game. He was cussing out the ref, so we know we're getting a hot Luka coming out on the floor tonight. I see on FanDuel +140. I can get behind that.
Okay. Triple-double on land, what does that get you to?
+200.
That's probably a good way to look at it, too.
Yeah. Yeah, once we broke down the game and thought about it a little bit, I'm not sure Golden State's putting up many points tonight.
I mean, I'm sure the Mavericks are capable of stopping anybody.
That is true. Yeah, they might just let Gary Payton and these guys score, but if it becomes a 3-point shooting contest, I favor Dallas a lot.
Right.
Of the plays I had circled, I probably felt the worst about this one. And like I said, I don't think I adjust that well for players being out.
You hold this team in high regards in your heart too. Them in Chicago have a special place in your heart.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of weird, huh? All these favorite teams of mine. All right. Let me re-pull it up. Bookmaker logged me out. Atlanta Hawks. Talk about games I want to pretend don't exist. Noops, did you have an angle on this game? I would have loved the Hawks, but Jalen Johnson's out. To me, I need him in to bet the Hawks, or I'm not betting them as a favorite. What do you think?
I agree. Jalen Johnson's one of those guys that if you handicap NBA, he's probably the second most important player on this Hawks team. I think he drives more success for them than DeJounte Murray does even at certain points. And if you go back and look, I think because they have Murray, you could make a case that Johnson might even be more important than Young in certain matchups. So these are two teams that are just sort of like in just two of the worst spots you could be in as an NBA franchise. It's the Atlanta Hawks. They're the 10th seed in the East, barring some sort of disaster or miracle, depending on how you look at it. They're the 10 seed. They're going to have to win 2 road games just to get in the playoffs, the privilege of getting waxed by the Boston Celtics and being just mired in the middle of nowhere again for another season where, as if you're Portland, you've been bad all year, but you're not bad enough to get the best possible odds at the top pick. I mean, they just won too many games here. They have the 5th worst record in the league. That still gives them a good shot at the number 1 pick. So now we're just going to try to see what Scoot Henderson can do, and what a horrible environment for somebody to be in to try to learn how to play NBA basketball. It's you and DeAndre Ayton, who doesn't care. Your only shooter on the entire team is Anthony Simons. Jeremy Grant's hurt night tonight. It's just a really bad spot for both of these teams to be in. I think Atlanta deserves to be a road favorite here. I kind of lean towards the under, but we can't skip 2 games or else we'd skip this one. Ugh.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. The one thing I would say about that draft slot, I'm not a draft expert myself, but I do spend some time perusing the NBA draft section of Reddit. And,
I'm excited for this.
Well, I was just going to say there's no consensus number 1 this year. The top 5 picks, everybody can just put holes in their game, and it feels like this might be one of the years where a top pick just gets you a contributing starter. It doesn't feel like there's any stars in this draft at all. But we also said that about 2020, and we got Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, and LaMelo Ball. So
you still want the highest pick possible. Good draft, good draft, bad draft. You want to be as high as you can.
Yeah, that's true.
Brett, we got a flashback to that Anthony Edwards interview where he was talking about other sports, and you were like, "I'm so out on this guy."
I fell in love with him.
Yeah, you're like, "This guy's worried about football and other things. Like, this guy's gonna be a bust."
Yeah, because I didn't like him at first because they said that his first love was football. But then he did like a WWE style interview news where, remember, he said he could beat Michael Phelps at swimming and If you put him on the golf course, he's A1 from
I'm
day
in.
one.
That's a guy I want.
Yeah.
The crazy lunatic competitor wins time and time again,
Yeah.
and he's really fun. Anthony
Especially when you're
favorite
uber
players to
athletic.
watch.
I mean, it's one thing for me to go out there and try my hardest, but I'm still not going to be able to run past anyone, and my vertical leap is probably about 6 inches. But when you're that athletic and you got that attitude, that's the guy that I want to back. But there's no one we want to back in the Hawks and Blazers, so let's move on. And
I got one prop I can get behind.
Oh, please.
Just give me Simon's threes over 3.5 at plus 120. Here's his
Bro.
3-point log for recent games: 3 for 9, 4 for 9, 4 for 7, 5 for 10, 5 for 13, 4 for 9, 1 for 4, 4 for 11. Like, he's hawking threes. He could easily get to 4 in this matchup. We know Atlanta doesn't play any defense.
I like that. I was going to say it's not.
I don't hate betting
known for running
3.5
people off the 3-point line.
5+, and maybe even a 6+ at a giant price.
Yeah, I can get behind that. In fact, when we bet against when we had that, remember I took the Thunder -13 that one night. Anthony Simons single-handedly covered that game for the Blazers, so I can get behind that. So this one, I'm going to stay out of giving an opinion because I'm emotionally involved. You can't roll your eyes. You would do the same thing if it was the big Sixers rivalry.
Absolutely not. If there's an edge, I'm playing an edge. I'm probably betting against the Sixers, but
I don't have an edge here. Lakers Kings. Lakers are -3. If I were to handicap it, I would say we said the Pacers were the worst back-to-back. The Kings are the second worst. I mean, I'm just saying that off the top of my head, but I know they're 3-7 against the spread on a back-to-back, and I've faded them on back-to-backs all year, and it's been money. And then I wonder if this is the night for the streaks to end. Right, last night the 18-game Milwaukee win streak ends. Is this the night? Because Tyler, you talked about it, right? The last time you want to get on the trend is when everybody on Twitter is talking about it. And I've already seen about 14 posts of Sabonis being 9-0 against Anthony Davis. But at the same time, man, I mean, I don't want to bet on the Lakers. I mean, geez, it's like, oh my gosh. It's like investing in an evil corporation. What do you think, Noops?
Could you imagine letting fandom get in the way of money, Noops?
no.
I can.
If I could have anything removed, if you could tell me, give me a lobotomy at work, if the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind machine works, take the Sixers part of my brain and get it out. It is the only thing that causes me pain and suffering that I can't control. It causes me emotional distress. It's a mess. But I like the Kings. I mean, I know it's a back-to-back for them, but they were at home last night. What an easy game. I don't think anybody had to play too many minutes. They're much better at home. They've beaten this Lakers team outright 3 times already this year. I don't. The Lakers have been playing better the last couple weeks, but I still see these teams as pretty even, especially being at home. I would have the Kings, honestly, as like a 1-point favorite. So, again, pretty close to a pick 'em. And because they're floating around 0, the Lakers are 2.5-point favorites. That's a 3.5-point difference. When you're crossing 0, it's not that much. So, kind of a small edge there. And then we always have to take into consideration of what the game means for LeBron James and Anthony Davis, because they just try hard sometimes. The Lakers here are 2 games behind your Kings in the standings. Again, Kings hold the tiebreaker, so it's more like 2.5. But if the Lakers want any real chance of getting into the 7-8 seed, maybe somehow competing for the 6, they have to win this game tonight. They have to close that down. They have to get that a little bit closer. So, if we're going to get peak LeBron and Anthony Davis because they know they have to win this game and don't want to get swept by the Kings. But as you can tell, I feel really stupid saying stuff like that, but I think that I have to take it into account, even though, again, I have the Kings as small favorites.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, what did I have? I kind of crossed it off, but I did put them in.
You got...
Yeah, I have the Kings winning by
plus
3
at this point.
I have the Kings winning by 3 on my projections, Noops.
That doesn't make me feel better.
What should I do, Tyler? I don't believe in our team. We're so bad on the back-to-back, and I don't do it. But, if you did just only do post All-Star break numbers, I think you would get closer to this -3.
I mean, he just laid the groundwork for why LeBron and AD are just going to smash his Kings team tonight. They want to catch up in the standings.
NBA in March.
They want to catch up in the standings. They don't have a game tomorrow to look forward to. They don't play Friday. They don't play again until Saturday. So it's not
2
like
days.
It's not like they have a look ahead spot. So it's like, this is the game. They just lost to him a few games ago. They hear all that talk that, Sabonis keeps beating AD. You're telling me AD ain't putting up numbers tonight? I think the Lakers win this game rather easily. the injury report is also big. If Kevin Huerter and Keegan Murray miss on top of Lyles just getting rolled out in the last 20 minutes.
Well, first of all, Kevin Huerter means nothing at this point.
I mean, that's a starter. That's a shooter that spaces the floor. He might not make his shots all the
what's
time.
really to drop off to Chris?
Kevin Huerter keeps Davion Mitchell on the bench. That's what's important.
Yeah.
No, they replaced him with Duarte, I believe.
Duarte got played
Even
off
worse.
the floor last night in a blowout spread.
Huerter looked pretty good to me last night when he was jumping up to celebrate that dunk, and all his teammates were getting mad at him.
That dunk was wild.
That's one of the most absurd things I've ever seen. And if people don't know what we're talking about, Andre Jackson levitated and hung in the air. Yeah. His full head, his chin was clearly inches above the rim. And if you look, the Kings bench is right behind it. And 2 or 3 of them, the one guy made a face like he had crapped himself. Like it was just unbelievable. I've never seen anyone jump that high and look so smooth. Like anytime you see somebody going out, like when Edwards peaked, when LeBron gets that block, like full flex, full extension, full sprint, he just sort of is like boop, 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 boop. Don't like it was nothing. Like he just done that. Like he do that every time.
Yeah, we got to get that guy in a dunk contest like yesterday.
He could dump over Shaq, full standing Shaq. Maybe Shaq holding the guy in the chair.
All right. Well, it sounds like Noops likes the Kings there, but Tyler likes the Lakers, and I'll probably just watch the game. All right. We've made it through the card. What do we want to finalize, Tyler? We agree on Magic. You said you'd join me on the Bulls. Do we want to do Nuggets?
I don't think we should.
Okay.
Just because I'd rather bet the Jokic triple doubles there and then the triple double and win it plus 350. Okay. I like the Pelicans and the Pelicans first half. I think we should double up on those.
All right. That's it. All right, Noops. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do Magic, Bulls, and Pelicans. You guys talked me off the Warriors. What official plays did you have today? And people join late. Let everyone know all the great content you're doing.
Yeah, I like the Orlando Magic Nets over. I played it at 206. It's down to 204.5. I'm going to hold my nose and try to eat the stinky cheese on that. Pelicans early, first quarter, first half. I like. Not too many other things. Again, if Quickly or Trent is out, I'll play a Raptors team total under. And again, I like that Jokic triple-double. I think the Luka triple-double is a good look. And the only other prayer prop that I had are at a couple of net Lakers-Kings game. I think D'Angelo Russell's points over is a good look. And Sabonis rebounds over. One of my favorite little things I was looking at by Sabonis. You'd think against bigger teams you would get less rebounds, but it's actually kind of the opposite. I think he's averaging over 15 rebounds a game against the Lakers and Timberwolves, who put those teams together. So maybe a little bit more of a focus there. His rebound total is only 13.5. I had him close to 16. So I like that. And then Terry Rozier, his assist total, I think, was only 6.5. I had him close to 8. He's basically the point guard with Hero out. So a bunch of stuff for me. As always, you can find me on Twitter at _Noops, at Spoon Backwards. Do Hoops with Noops for the folks at FTN, the BetUS NBA show. And we'll be appearing every Friday on VSiN going forward.
All right. Looking forward to seeing that. And thanks again for jumping on. On that Sabonis one, when you talked about him doing well against big teams, that doesn't surprise me. Because smaller teams will try to bring him out.
We got to double down on one thing too, Spread. They got to follow him on Twitter. Can't tell you how many first touchdown bets I cashed because of this man.
Oh, yeah. Good point. We're out of NFL practice, but that is one thing that you've done a great job with. And, of course, we appreciate all the hard work you've put in there. So thank you for joining us. We'll try and bring you on, assuming you have time, at least one more time before the season ends, because this is a lot of fun for me. So thanks again, Noops. And we will be back. Oh, I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to do this one solo. I'm going to do it bright and early. It's going to just be a quick one because I'm going to be traveling tomorrow. So I'll just knock one out tomorrow in the morning, and then we'll have 5-star in Vegas on Friday. Hit that thumbs up. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and nuke the house.